Joe, how's it going?
Phil, how are you?
You know, doing pretty good. So you are an advocate for fathers, among other things. You're also a retired cop. So what got you into the advocacy thing?
Yeah, look, it's a funny. Well, it's not a funny. Obviously, there's a lot of weight to it when
Hmm.
you delve back into my story. But definitely dads, but fathers, and just men in general. Really,
Yeah.
we we go through a lot in life, and there's a lot against men. That if you look out
Hmm.
there in the world at the moment, and there's a a lot of negative push on men that I think is a bit unwarranted, to be honest.
Hmm.
Don't get me wrong. There's definitely a part of the I don't know if you've seen it yet, but the manosphere.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's very toxic. That's a very toxic environment, and unfortunately, young men are getting caught up in that.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but I'm more for the men who have gone through the hard times, the rough times, and don't feel like they've got any support out there. And from what I know, there's a lot of men out there in that scenario.
Well, and so it's definitely a multi-layered thing when it comes to us as men. And I'm not, listen, I'm not some whiny guy about being a man. I understand that we're supposed to shoulder the load. I get that. I have my conspiracy theory about what's going on against men. I think it is to destroy true masculine men, especially here in the U.S. I can't speak for obviously I can't speak for Australia, but here in the U.S., I think there's been an attack on masculine men for 15 years now, and here's why: it's because they want this country weaker, and they don't want real men to be able to fight. Do you know what I mean? In case something happens, So now that could be a right wing, nut job take, but that's how I feel. It's like, because when you see like, oh, be more sensitive, be more feminine, that kind of thing. I mean, that's, to me, it sounds like they don't want men, they want women, right?
Mate, look, you to me, you've hit the nail on the head. And there's another element that I'll add to that.
Please do.
If you weaken the
Hmm.
man in his home, then he is nothing without the home. So if you look at everything that has been put in place and in regards to family law courts and the court systems and so on, the first thing that they want to do is strip the man away from his home. You take the man away from his home and you strip him of basically everything and you strip him of his backbone.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, you strip him of his reason to do stuff. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I've been married twice. I don't have any children, but I do have a girlfriend that I love dearly now, and coming home to her after a day of work, there's nothing like it. So for me, of course, I want to provide for her. I want to give her a good life, and you take that away. What am I doing? You know what I mean? I'm just, going to work to survive, and that's not life. That's just exactly what I just said. It's surviving. I want to touch on what you said about the courts. Like here in the U.S., because now I understand that a man should support his children. I completely agree with that. What I don't agree with is alimony. I think alimony is a fucking joke. If she was well enough to get a job during the marriage, she should have, you know. And then alimony needs to go away, and then child support also needs to be far more regulated in around the world than it is now, because when you have someone that's just taking it and using it for themselves, saying it's not, and then this idea that you go to jail if you don't pay it, or you lose your license. So I mean, so either way, the guys are screwed, you know. So how is that situation in Australia?
Well, so I mean, we have child support.
Yeah.
I we don't have alimony. So
Really?
yeah. So you'll have to
Oh, wow.
explain to me what alimony is because
All right.
we
So
have child support and child support is stipulated and that's it.
see, that's great. So alimony is the dumbest fucking thing. So Florida is called a no fault state, right? So that means no one's at fault, which is dumb. So in case of adultery, it doesn't matter. The state doesn't care. It just gets split down the middle or whatever, right? So I'm not gonna be completely wrong on this, and I'm sure the internet will correct me, and that's fine. But so somebody in their marriage had an affair, and so now, because he was married to this woman for 20 plus years, he has to pay her $10,000 a month in spousal support. But it's also based on income, right? So Like my ex-wife, I'm not going to say too much, but she made more money than I did because I wasn't working because I had back issues and it was more medical than anything. So she was the sole provider. I could have went after spousal support from her, but I didn't because I didn't care. I just wanted her out of my life, right? So it's basically giving them the lifestyle they were used to while they were married if they didn't work, right?
And then you've got to pay child support on top of that.
Yes, both. I
I'm
mean,
sorry,
if
but that's a
yeah,
fucked up system.
isn't it now? So now, but I think in certain instances, like you have to be married a certain amount of time. Like if you're married like anything less than 10 years here in Florida, you don't have to worry about it, too much unless you just want to. I think I could be wrong, but yeah, it's incredibly fucked up. And then like Dr. Dre, for example, he's a famous producer and used to be he's a rapper here in the U.S. and he's worth billions of dollars, right? And I think he has to pay his ex-wife roughly like I don't know some ridiculous like 100 grand a month or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah, in child support and alimony. I'm like, what? And then sometimes it being based on income is absolutely ridiculous because there's some like I think Tom Cruise when his kid he was paying like 40 grand a month or some ridiculous. It's so stupid. It doesn't, and it's just for um it's just so the woman could have or the man because sometimes it happens. Sometimes the men get it too, but it's more rare for the man. I mean, I know one person in my life. She was a what we have or here they're called a CRNA, which is a certified registered nurse anesthetist. Basically, they do anesthesia, right? So, and her husband didn't make as much money as she did, so she had to pay him alimony for X amount of time, and she was just as bitchy as a man was about it, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then but some states here in the U.S. they have a cohabitation law, like I think it's Virginia or no, it's North Carolina. If you're like, I also know another doctor, his wife was having had an affair and moved to a different state and then he hired a private investigator to see if she was cohabitating because if she was cohabitating with somebody which she was the alimony is null and void because she has the income, you know what I mean? So you can see how messy it is, and I think that's why I said all that to make it so that way you can understand how fucked up it is.
It's very grey. There's no black and white. But at the same time, look, my gripe here is that politics have gotten involved with the family law courts. And I'm
Same here.
sorry, politics has no place in a family law court.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. So unfortunately a lot of the states in the US are leaning more liberal. I guess what you would call a conservative by the bare minimum standards. Here's what I tell people when they ask my political leanings. I say, keep your hands out of my pockets, keep your hands off my guns, and leave me the fuck alone. And I'm not paying for your abortion. Like that's
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. Like if you want an abortion, fine, go do it, but I'm not paying for it. As a taxpayer, because there was talk here a long time ago of taxpayer funded abortions, and I'm like, that's fucking stupid. So America is so wonky anymore, dude. Like it used to be the greatest nation in the world, but then it all turned to greed and war and all this other dumb shit. But it's literally, I mean, it's I think since like the '90s is when it started to take a shit. So
Yeah, look, it's a hard one. I travelled
mhm.
through Canada and America. I'm trying to think of what year it was. It would have been maybe 2004,
Mhm.
thereabouts.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I come from Australia, so we're very laid back.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and I actually remember traveling around going, and I drove, bought a car in Canada, and then drove down and did all of the coastline and ended up across all the way to Texas and stuff
Mhm.
like that. I have to admit, I was thinking, hold on a minute, what's all the talk about
Mhm.
in regards to the
Yeah.
US? I,
Mhm.
I live here in Australia, and I believe that Australia was a much better place than what the US was.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
that's nothing against the people of the
no, not at
US.
all.
It was just the way that the
Right.
US sort of felt as a country.
Yeah, it's if I'm being honest, I mean, and it depends on which state you go to. Like so it's done by regions, right? It's how I look at it. The South, like where I am, I'm in Florida. So from like from Texas to Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, those are considered the southern states. I mean, some of them are, but there's a little bit more north. You have Tennessee, you have South Carolina, and Georgia and stuff like that. Those are considered your southern states. That's where you're going to get more hospitality and more, like sometimes in some instances you're going to get some more kind people depending upon where you go. Like, well, I did some work in Louisiana as a scrub tech, and I've said it before, that is the most hospitable places I've ever been to in my life because they're just all down to earth, good people. But then you go to California, right, where it's all liberalism. It's just incredibly snooty, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, but I understand that as well. I mean, we've got certain places here that have got a bit of a different mix to it as well, but not
Hmm.
to the level that you guys have over there.
Yeah, it's because every state is different, right? And it's like I don't know how you guys break it up into different zones over there. I don't know, but I don't think you do. You have states. How's that work?
Yeah, no, we've got states. We've definitely
Okay,
got states,
yeah.
and you can. There's a difference. I mean, Queensland, which is where I am in Brisbane,
Hmm.
and then you've got New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, and so on. But
Hmm.
Victoria, so Melbourne and Sydney and New South Wales, they have a very different feel to them as well compared to Brisbane.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
And
Brisbane still feels like a large country compared
mm,
to Sydney and Melbourne.
do you think that's based on regionality, or do you think it's just based on the people?
Oh, it's the people,
Yeah.
and just yeah. I mean, I've been to Sydney and Melbourne, and I actually find it's easier to talk to people here than what it is down in Sydney and Melbourne.
Hmm.
Same sort of
Have you
thing.
ever have you ever made it over to New Zealand? I know it's a whole different country, but have you ever made it over there?
Yeah, no, that's definitely one place I'm going to go. But yeah, I haven't made it to
Yeah.
New Zealand yet.
Australia and New Zealand are on the bucket list for sure because I got people I got want to get in Australia and New Zealand. I like the Maori culture. I'd like to
Yeah,
just sit down and talk to some of those people. You know what I mean? Because they're very passionate. They're very proud of their own culture. And like I know recently they just had a guy. He has the Maori mask and they let him in the military. So that's cool. And I know they had a newscaster that had her, her Maori piece on as well. And so
yeah.
it's cool. They're letting them be themselves. Back to the attack on men thing. Um, I've just noticed that here in the States, it's literally they just want us to be soft, emotionless providers. That's it. There's none of this, we care about you. I mean, there's some people, it's starting to kind of turn around a little bit, but it's all centered on the woman and the kids. And don't get me wrong, it should be about the kids. And, and any man that's worth his salt will take care of his wife or woman, ever how you want to say it. But I don't think that it needs to be where the men are just completely stuffed in a closet and forgotten,
Also,
which is kind of where we're headed.
that's right. And I don't, because obviously I'm not sure 100% of how your system works over there, but um, I mean, you have battery, I'm guessing, on your
Hmm.
spouse, right?
Yeah,
So
domestic violence.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So you still call it domestic violence over there?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So DV here has
Yeah.
become a huge thing, and it's become used as leverage through the
Hmm.
family law court system. So a lot of lawyers are telling the woman, go and make an application on a DV order because that will
Hmm.
strengthen your case and you will get your kids.
Whether it's true or not.
Whether it's true or not, just make up anything. And now
God damn it.
and that's happened so many times. Like the women are
Yeah.
utilizing the system now to utilize the DV allegation
Hmm.
to push their case to get their kids and get more money. So they get a $5,000 handout fee too if they go in and make a DV allegation.
That should be illegal. It's almost like fraud,
It is.
especially if it's not true. I mean, it's when a woman or a man claims false sexual assault allegation. Like, and so now the next person that it happens to, especially if it's found out that it's a lie and it's not real, the next person it happens to, it weakens their claim. I hate to say this, but the world's full of retards. And
I
then
look at
so
and
then
it's getting dumber and dumber, unfortunately.
yeah, and this idea, and so any lawyer that would do that should be disbarred
Yeah,
because it's lying.
but
It's
it's become
perjury.
common practice though.
Yeah, and that happens here too. Like, or the other one is, um, people weaponize like DCF. They'll send them to somebody's house because they just don't fucking like them, and
Yeah.
so their kids are in danger. You know what I mean? There needs to be better laws in place, obviously, in both countries. And so I don't. That kind of blew my mind a little bit that it's just as bad over there. I thought it was just here,
No,
you know?
it's definitely. I mean, obviously, look, I mean, I was a copper for 10 years,
Mm,
and
mhm,
I finished up 2017.
mhm,
I was starting to see the way that that was heading then,
mhm,
right? And we had to be very
right.
careful about how we were handling the situations.
Yeah,
So, and then it's just gotten worse and worse and worse.
mhm.
And I still
So
got cop mates, and they're like, "You got
mhm.
no idea how many DV stuff is coming through the system all the
Now
time."
do your cop friends, do they know that it's bullshit, or do they I mean, so
You can't. They
I don't
can't.
know how it
They've been
works.
told
Yeah,
this is the unfortunate thing as well. And some of my mates are still very old school in their thinking process that you go in and you assess the situation and you
yeah,
work out what's going on, right?
mhm,
But they've
right.
been told now, even if the man has hit the woman, you have to look at it and ask the question: if the woman has hit the man, what did he do for her to have to hit him?
It's just ice skating uphill for men over there.
It is
Yeah,
100%
and
it is.
that's fucking ridiculous. And it's the same here. It's like, there's a comedian I used to listen to, and I reference him quite a bit on the show. His name is Bill Burr. He said a
Yes,
woman could, yeah, he said a woman could do something worthy of a suplex and get away with it. If I'm walking down the street and I slap a guy in the face, I'd get my ass kicked. You know how men, like, for us, we just let it builds and builds and builds, and then we explode sometimes. Some men, not all men. But so if that happens and she starts crying, next thing you know, I got, a cop with his knee in my back because I scared her. But she could sit here and kick my ass and give me black eyes and broken bones and all that shit.
that's
Yeah.
exactly it. And they go, "Oh, well, you're
Yeah.
big enough to handle it."
And that's not fair at all. And then that's why a lot of men suffer in silence, right? And then the suicide rate in men has gone up.
Oh,
And I probably should fact check that, but I'll do it
okay.
later. Listen, I get it. Men are like I said before, men are supposed to be providers, are supposed to be the foundation of the family, but they still need fucking love, you know? But some men, they have this idea of just stoicism all the time, or they need to be tough all the time. And it's like, put down your broadsword and let someone love you. But because some men have that, they have those walls up because they feel they have to be this aggressive, not necessarily aggressive, but this stoic, person that doesn't show emotion, and then that needs to go away. I mean, I'm not saying you need to have a cry every day or anything like that, but you need to you got to let it out. You got to talk to a friend or somebody
Yeah.
else. You know what I mean?
Well, mate, look, at the end of the day, I mean, we just recently as well had a copper that took his own life,
Sorry
and
to
he
hear
wasn't
that.
even retired.
Yeah,
So he was still in the job. He had every opportunity, could have got some help, but
yeah,
he's taken his own life. It's a common thing.
yeah. Now, do you think it's because of the job, or do you think it was because of something else?
Look, it's hard to tell. That a lot of coppers
Right.
struggle, through
Yeah.
the job and through what they've seen and what they've dealt with and stuff like that. It's a common. My mates and I would go motorbike riding. That's our release, and we go and
Yeah.
catch up
Nice.
and shoot the breeze and stuff like that. And we can still talk about jobs that we've been to. That
Right.
you just never forget it. You know?
Yeah. No, and yeah, because it's like me in surgery, right? Like you see things that are just permanently etched into your brain. I could tell you a couple stories that'll make your skin crawl, and they stick out with you because it's terrible, whether it's a kid or whatever. So I can only imagine, like, being on the scene and seeing what cops see. And listen, excuse me. Um, I have a lot of respect for cops. I do, but for the good ones. But here, so and then they see a lot of shit, and it's like, and then now that the violence is upticking in the U.S. for for political stupid bullshit. Um, it's getting worse. So I can imagine going to a scene and where somebody, some meth head put their baby in a microwave because it was cold or something
Yeah.
ridiculous. So that, yeah, and that just sticks to you and it doesn't wash off.
I mean, you think about it this way, right? It's funny because even now, when I talk to people that have never done the job, never been in it, never understood it, and they're like, "Oh, I don't understand how you can be so aggressive. It's your job, rah rah rah." I go, "Okay, well, you go and put that uniform on, and then
Hmm.
you go to other people's houses and you get told to fuck off and you're this
Mhm.
and you're a piece of trash and rah, 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 and you get that every day.
Yeah. No, it's for sure.
Yes, we're meant to have thick skin, but at some
Mhm.
point it becomes enough. And you go, you know what? I'm done with this. Like, and they wonder why coppers become quite abrasive because they've
Mhm.
had
Well,
enough of dealing with the bullshit.
yeah, well, it's thick skin, not bulletproof. You know what I mean? There was a cop in Michigan, his name is Matthew Furman. He just got charged with a felony because he had a suspect in handcuffs. And this guy's an asshole. I'm gonna say this, pretty thorough here. He's a fucking prick. And he's dry tasing the guy and all this other stuff. So and then then the guy's handcuffed on the back of an ambulance and he grabs him by the head and bangs it into the ambulance, right? So that guy's a prick, right? So that's the baseline. But when you have the good cops that they deal with people, they call them pigs, they call them thugs, they call them all this other shit, get in their face and like, and just treat them like shit because they decided to have a noble job of protecting people or at least trying to uphold the law. And then they get spit on and shit on all the time. There's only so much of that shit you can take. It's like, someone calling you an idiot every day.
Mm-hmm. But you imagine even just having an office job and you're turning up and you're getting called you're useless and this and that. Yeah, every day it's going to wear through. People don't understand.
No, they don't. I can sympathize with a lot of police officers about how their job is incredibly stressful and terrible. But it's all I mean, now this is where I'm going to say this is that they really need to there's that's when you have to think of yourself and then step back. Like if it starts to wear on you, take a vacation or whatever. But then here, like, in the US, we have a lot of ego policing, so the First Amendment allows us to drive by a cop and flick them off, right? Because it's First Amendment speech. So we're allowed to do that and tell them, we can say those things because it's protected. Then you have, usually, I'm not saying you should do that. I'm saying we have the ability, right? Like I would never do that because they're there, they're there to do a job. So, um, and then but then on the flip side of that, you have a cop that gets offended and mad, so he pulls somebody. It's called a retaliatory stop, right? So they pull them over, pull them out of the car, do all this illegal stuff that they're not supposed to do, and say it's disorderly conduct, which it's not. And then the next thing you know, their department's getting sued for $100,000 or more, and then the taxpayers got to pay it because of qualified immunity.
Oh
So
wow!
yeah, right. So it's fucked up too. So there's a bunch of YouTube channels I watch, lackluster video. They're called First Amendment auditors here in the U.S. Right. So they'll be outside on a paved sidewalk that's public property, and some jackass Karen will call the cops and say they're trespassing. Well, no, they're not because they're on public property. So a cop will show up, demand ID, and here in some states that yes, there are a stop and ID state, but um, like in Florida, it's a stop and ID state, but they have to have reasonable, articulable suspicion, right? To ID you. So like basically saying that you have committed a crime or think you have. And then it all snowballs. And then this qualified immunity shit here in the States. I don't know if they have that in Australia or not, but
No,
so if so the best way that I can explain it. So say a guy's robbing a bank, right? And in the line of duty, he shoots the bank robber, but one of his shots misses and hits a grandma behind the bank robber. That murder or that homicide, whatever you want to call it, manslaughter, gets stuck to the guy committing the crime of the robbery, not the cop. So and then
because it was in the act of
right
mate.
now that
If he wasn't robbing the bank, this would never have happened.
right exactly. So now, but a lot of cops here in the States, what they do is they take that qualified immunity, they try to use it for when they fuck up, and when they do step outside of the legal limits of the law. I like cops. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate them. I like the good ones, like I said before.
Yeah. Oh look, the problem is you got bad seeds and everything,
Exactly.
right? You can't help that.
How long did it take you to become a cop in Australia?
Oh, what was it? 6, 7 months through the academy at the time, and then you had to go out and complete a first year as a connie. So you're in
Hmm.
training as a first year.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's about the same here. I think it's a 6-month course maybe, and then And then that's really all the training they get. They have the FTOs with the field training officers and stuff that ride with them for a little bit, but sometimes they don't even get that because it's funding and resources. So
Wow. Gee
yeah,
whiz.
and then or sometimes it's even two trainees together. Like I just recently saw another video on a channel where there was a couple guys. They were army and they were off base and they were going out for food or whatever, and they got pulled over. And the one guy had a warrant. Somehow the driver had a warrant, and the other sergeant in the car for the army did not. And how it works here, they can only really ID the person that committed the crime, right? It's not because the person, the passenger, didn't commit the infraction. So they pull the other guy out of the car that didn't do it. Well, I mean, let me start with this. So they pull the guy that committed the infraction out because he has a warrant, put him in the car. The other guy had nothing to do with it, right? He's not driving. So this idiot cop pulls him out and starts, I need your ID, I need this. He goes, no, you don't, because he's protected by the Fourth Amendment, right? So the Fourth Amendment in America is unreasonable search and seizures. So, so anyways, he's like, he had his name tag for the army, and he's like, that's all you're getting. And then he's like, all right, I'm going to arrest you for obstruction. That's not obstruction. Obstruction is a physical act,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah. So he gets arrested for this, and he starts going through his wallet. So false arrest, illegal search, blah 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 blah, right? And that cop, I think he probably used his qualified immunity, which didn't work because he was outside of the confines of the law. So the problem is there's not enough training for cops in the States. I'm not
Yeah.
speaking for Australia, but here, when there's the first thing that needs to be done is were you bullied in high school? If you were, you can't be a fucking cop. Yeah.
You've definitely got merit there. Yep. Because I've seen it. I've seen those coppers as well that are in the job that
Yeah.
shouldn't be in the job.
Yeah. Well, there was one here recently. Um, listen, I can talk this about all fucking day because this is the kind of stuff that irritates me. It's in New York. They call him the cooler cop, and there was a guy. They were doing a drug operation on this dude, and he kind of got spooked. I don't know the exact, but I do know. So he got one of those e-bikes and started taking off, and this cop took a full cooler, like a picnic cooler, like a huge one, and chucked it at the guy's head and hit him, and he died later at the hospital. This
Oh,
guy just got, yeah, yeah. So the guy died, and a bunch of cops showed up. This thin blue line stuff. They just showed up and like were saying he's a great guy. I'm like, no, you could have arrested him later, and that's what the judge said on the bench, and then he convicted him of whatever, and then now he's out because he's appealing it. You know what I mean? It's so ridiculous. I saw another one. This is going to sound sexist, and I might lose a couple viewers on this. I don't think women should be cops either. Because they're very emotional. I've seen so many videos where the first thing they do is they draw their weapon. If somebody doesn't want to get out of a car, or I saw a guy, he was in handcuffs and he was refusing to identify because he didn't need to. The female cop's like, if you don't identify yourself, I'm going to start breaking fingers. What are we, 1930s fucking Germany?
yeah. Okay. You definitely over there have another level. Yeah, we don't have that type of drama here. Don't get me wrong, we've still got some here that step over the line, but nowhere near the extent to what you're talking about.
Right.
Nowhere near.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like they don't want to be bothered sometimes. I live in a community that's being built. There were some people in the back. Now, this is my bad, whatever. They didn't look like they belonged there. And I was told by it was my Karen moment for the year. The superintendent said, because people here in the U.S., I don't know, it might be the same in Australia, but they like to steal from construction sites.
Yeah.
Right. Because
We've got the same
no
thing
one's
here.
watching. Yeah.
Yep.
So no one watches the shit. So this person looked like a fucking grade A meth head. He's no signage on his truck, nothing. But he was a carpet layer. So I'm like, shit. And it took me forever to call the cop. And I finally did. And then the cop is chapping my ass because I called.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what do you want me to do, dude? But I mean, I'm sorry, I'm kind of hogging the stuff here. I'm just trying to give you the differences between the two countries,
Yeah, look, I feel like definitely you guys over there are a very heightened level compared to what we have here.
Yeah.
I mean, don't forget, you guys have guns issues and
Mhm.
stuff like that everywhere over there. You don't know who's carrying over there,
Right.
right? Whereas we don't
Mhm.
really have that issue here, although, there's more guns getting around than what people actually know. So that's what the general public don't realize that.
Here's the other thing too is how's knife crime? And
Oh, that started to get bad, especially down south. Yeah, down in Melbourne, down in Sydney. Yeah, a lot of young fellas dying and stuff like that just because kids and teenagers are getting around with knives on them all the time. Like that's the go-to thing now.
yeah, that happened in England. They're pretty strict on firearms there. And a guy took a knife or a box cutter or something to a open air market, and he was able to slice and stab 22 people in a few seconds. So it doesn't matter. People that want to hurt people will find ways to do it, whether it's a knife, a gun, a car, a pitchfork. They don't give a shit. You know what I mean? They're
No,
going to figure out how to do it.
no, that's right.
So, yeah, and I mean, listen, because I know in Australia, you guys kind of did all in one fell swoop with the gun control thing. And I mean,
Yeah,
don't get me wrong. I don't think I'm a former firearms instructor here in the States. And it's like, there's times that, you look at people like, I'll use an example. So a friend of mine, they wanted to be trained. And I said, they go, what? I said, you're on antipsychotic medication. Because they told me, I said, I'm not training you. And it's like, well, that's not fair. I'm like, I didn't say nobody would train you. I said, I'm not. So there you go. And that's the thing is like, when you have some of these people that do concealed carry stuff in the States, they just want the money. They don't care about what could possibly come from that.
yeah.
So, and then, but yet again, see the aforementioned thing I said about a bunch of retards in the world.
Well, not everyone has a necessity for one either. Realistically,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
our
No,
big
you're
thing
right.
here, our big thing here is farmers and those that
Mm-hmm.
live on rural properties. A lot of them
Right.
have guns on their properties for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But if you live in the city, you don't need a gun
Mm-hmm.
unless you're
Yeah.
going out recreational shooting.
Yeah. I mean, but I guess it really would depend on the level of crime. Like I don't know if you're familiar with the the South Side of Chicago, but it's been a Democratic ran, and I'm not pointing fingers at the Democratic Party. I'm just saying it's been ran by Democrats for the last like 50 years or something like that. And there's 20, 30 shootings a weekend. So there's the conspiracy here is they don't they just it's not the people behind the gun, it's the gun they blame. My argument against this is when it comes to guns, it's the only time they blame the thing that caused it. So a drunk driver runs over six people, they don't blame the car, they blame the driver, right? And this is it's an old argument here in the States. Um, so why isn't it the person behind the gun that they're blaming? I mean, obviously, a car you need because you need to get around. I understand that, but anything can be weaponized, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
And if
yeah.
someone's
So,
if someone's
mhm,
delusional or someone has a vendetta or for whatever reason, which we're seeing a lot of around the world lately, then they'll
mhm.
take whatever they can use to do it.
100%. Yeah, and it's like I mean, there was a guy in France. He used a truck, like a dump truck. So I'm sure he shouted "Allah Akbar" before he fucking did it. You know,
Yeah, I mean, you got
so and
there's
it's
every
yeah.
opportunity around. They just take
Mhm.
the opportunity when it comes up.
Well, like that, I don't know if you heard about it here, but there was I think it was in the Carolinas. So she was this young girl from the Ukraine, and she got on a bus or train, whatever, some mode of transportation, people,
Are you talking about the
and
the guy that sliced her throat?
yeah, stabbed her in the neck. Yeah,
Yeah, we saw that
and
over here.
yeah, and that so that and he stabs her in the neck, and he says, "I got that white girl," and now he's been declared incompetent to stand trial.
No,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Stabbed in this beautiful young woman bleeding out, and no one's helping her. By the way, they're all just dead staring, you know, and just like like mindless fucking zombies. And she's sitting on a grimy floor of a train or a bus in her last few minutes.
but this is the other thing though as well though, right? If you look around now, I don't know whether you notice it over there, but I've noticed it here. Is that people aren't willing to step in if they see something wrong. They're
And
too
this,
scared to step in when
hmm
I can't help it. Right? If I see something that's not right, I step in.
hmm
It's
yeah,
just
and
innate.
yeah, and that brings us back to them crushing men, right?
Yeah, oh,
Because because they don't want you to step in. They don't want you to be a man. If somebody's like hurting someone I care about, I don't give a shit what they are, man, woman, can't fucking figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rock them into the next fucking century. You know what I mean? That's it. Like I don't know if you have county fairs over there, but it's like when we have a Ferris wheel and
Yeah,
rides
we
and all that
have
kind of.
those type of things. Yeah.
This is why I don't go out in public too much. Is because so they went out and his wife wound up getting jumped by like 5 women, right? So him being her husband decided to rock every last one of their fucking blocks off. He beat the crap out of them, and rightfully fucking so, because that's that's his wife.
Are you
That's
going to
like
tell
if
me that he ended up getting the ramifications from it?
I think he did go to jail, but I think they're like, you know what? I don't know the end game of that one, but I do. He may have not have faced any charges at all because it was a probably like self defense or I don't know if it's considered self defense or not. But I
Well,
think
you'd have to look at
yeah
it from a self defense in regards to protecting your partner from a 5-on-1 situation.
yeah exactly because I mean that's not that's not a fair fight at all. You know what I mean? So and any man worth his salt would have jumped in on that and stopped it. And it's like if it's a one-on-one thing, whatever, and even that for my girlfriend, because she wouldn't say shit if she had a mouthful of it. You know what I mean? And if somebody hurts her, if it's I don't care if it's 1 or 10 or 15, I'm going to do my best to protect her because that's what I'm here to do. So and like like you just said a minute ago, if I see it, I have to do something.
Yeah.
I can't not.
Look, it's funny because even my partner struggles with it because
Mm-hmm.
like we were sitting down having lunch and I can see something is going on and I can see it's not right, and she can see
Mm-hmm.
my eyes and everything turning to what's going on. She's like, no, 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 focus here. You don't need to get involved. I'm like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but something's not right and I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
She
Yeah.
doesn't like it,
And
but
But but then sometimes you get people that just like arguing in public. Unless it's a direct threat to me or my woman, I don't really super get involved. I want to, but because of people using that as a fraudulent thing, the guy that taught me how to shoot, he used to tell me the story of as a scenario that he made up, or maybe it was a real one. I don't know. Um, it's like you're in downtown, you hear somebody screaming down an alley, and you go to check it out, and there's a dumpster in the alley, but you don't see the person behind the dumpster to rob you, that kind of thing. That's what
yeah.
I'm alluding to. So that's why if it's in a weird spot, you obviously have to use your head. What was the catalyst for you to get into this advocating for men and fathers? What happened there? If you don't mind telling the story.
Oh, I mean, look, it's a little bit of a longer story. Um, I'll happy to go into it though. So obviously, I mean, I was a cop for 10 years, but there was okay. So I was partnered up, wasn't married, we were de facto.
Hmm.
Had
Yeah.
2 young fellas, so they would have been 2 and 4 thereabouts at the time, and had an incident that had occurred. So my best mate was in the job as well, and so this is a guy that you might have a lot of guys have a mate that they've basically grown into men with, right? So
Hmm.
he was that guy
Right.
for me. Went to high
Right.
school with him. We knew each other inside and out. We, did everything. You name it, we did it. So many
Hmm.
life stories.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is that guy for me, and he rang me to say happy birthday. So it was just a religious thing that we did. Every birthday we would do this thing, and he's rung me, and he was doing a wide load special. So when you got an oversized load on a truck, they would send police ahead just to make sure that everyone's safe and the load gets there safe. So he was doing that, and on the call, he says to me, he said, I've got something to let you know too. He said, I'm going to be a dad for his first kid.
Yeah.
And mate, the fucking joy and everything in his voice and stuff, I was like, mate, this is the only thing, it's something he'd lived for. And fuck, probably 15 seconds later, 20 seconds later, oh, fuck,
Mm,
that was it. The phone dropped out. And I didn't know,
right.
I mean, you can allude to that, but when you're doing those things, there's a lot of things that can happen. So, and I've spoken to him before where, he's had to jump off the phone quickly. So, didn't think the worst, you know, because this is a guy that you never think was going to ever have have this happen to. And anyway, so I get off the phone with him. I tried calling him back, obviously, a couple of times. It went straight to message bank. And so then I'm doing some other things, and I call his wife, who was a copper as well. And, I'm congratulating her, just heard the news and all this sort of thing, and had a great conversation. And near the end of the conversation, I just said to her, "Look, have you heard from Dan this morning?" She said, "No, I would normally have heard from him, but now." And I was like, "Well, so look, I don't want you to stress out or anything." I said, "But this is what happened." I said, "Maybe he's jumped
Mhm.
off the phone to deal with something. But when you hear from him, get him to give me a call so I know that everything's okay." She's like, "Yeah, yep, no dramas." As I finished saying that, she says, "I've got to go to the boss's office." And I'm like, "Okay." She goes, "Yeah, look, it could be anything." She said, "I've got a massive workload at the moment." And I'm like, "Okay." Anyway, she gets off the phone. 2 minutes later, my phone rings and my partner at the time has rung me. She said, "Oh, how far away from home are you?" I'm like, "Oh, 10 minutes." "Okay, a couple of the boys from work are here to see you." And I'm like, still not putting it together because I was on leave. And
Right.
so it wasn't uncommon for them to drop in on leave just to see how, say good day and whatever. Anyway, I get home and it's my team sergeant and one of my
Wow.
colleagues there. And he said, "Mate," he said, "I've got to get you to sit down. I've got something to tell you." And I'm like, "Fuck, righto." And at this point, I've got so many different things going through my head. And he said, "Mate, Dan was killed this morning." Now, I don't remember what happened after that, but I was told that I went to punch him and
Shit.
both of them had to grab me and hold me on the ground until I could calm me down. So I don't remember that at all. So what we didn't realize either is he didn't even know that I'd been speaking to him. So
Mm.
my partner at the time asked him, "What time did it happen?" And she pieced it together and said, "Hey, he was talking to him at the time when that happened." And he's like, "No way." She's like, "Yeah." So, like, that rocked me, like, absolutely rocked me. Um, and I said, earlier, you have those memories that you have growing up and growing into manhood as well, especially, right? Like, those are some of your best times of your life.
Right.
And so many went to the grave with him because they were
Yeah.
stories that only him and I knew.
Yeah.
And
And I don't mean to cut you off, but it's like that's a foundation of who you are. That guy has been there since you were kids. I don't want to over dramatize it, but it's like your left arm or your right arm, you know?
Well, well, pretty much. Like, mate, even to the point that, growing up, I think I was just out of high school and he'd ring the house and my mum and dad would be like, "Hey, your girlfriend's on the phone."
Had to say that right when I was taking a drink. That's so. I mean, there. Yeah, that just tells you how close you guys were, right?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
I ended up having to, ring my folks and tell them as well. And I spoke to my mum, a few weeks later, and she said, because my dad answered the phone, and she
Yeah.
said, "When you told him, he went white and he got off the phone and didn't even know what to say."
Yeah. There's nothing you can
So,
say. Yeah.
it's one of those things. And anyway, so obviously, progressing on from there, I went through a scenario at work where I was, in the middle of a road and I had um, a grub in a stolen car try and run me down.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, it must have been pretty close because my partner at the time, he said all he saw was my reflective vest go in the air and he thought I'd been hit. And
Oh.
put a round into the car as it was going by.
Uh-huh.
So there's a bit that I can't even remember. So I don't even know whether I jumped out of the way or what I did. But my brain said, you don't need to remember this. So I still to this day, I can't recall what happened in that
Wow.
moment. So went into self-preservation mode. And so, of course, by that stage, my boys are now 5 and 3.
Mhm.
And, his young fellow is now 1. And I I just remember sitting there on the side of the road afterwards going, I nearly left my boys in the same position that his young
Mhm.
fella is in.
Yeah.
And man, did that send me on a real rabbit hole. I was like, fuck this job, fuck this place. Like, what am I doing? Is this worth it? I don't get paid a lot of money to do this shit, deal with these assholes all the time, so it was a whole wide range of emotions and frustrations that came through me all at once. Um, and so then to continue that on, I then ended up splitting with my partner. That became quite unhealthy, and then ended up being a single dad and
Yeah.
getting my boys, whenever I could because I was still shift worker.
Yeah.
So it was around working around my shifts and when was I available to have them and all that sort of thing. And I was doing everything on my own. I didn't have any support. My parents
Yeah.
didn't live in the same city, so it was just me. And I really understood where a lot of these other dads that I'd been going to houses as a copper. So it really sort of made me take a step back and really understand where some of these other dads had been positioned previously.
Yeah.
And but it made me sort of go, okay, what do I need to do here? So I've learnt the hard way. You name it, I've walked it. And she threatened me about making false DV allegations as well, because she knew that if she did that, then I'd lose my gun, right? Which therefore meant I'd be stuck on desk duty. I wouldn't be getting overtime. I wouldn't be getting any of that sort of thing. So it was about a control thing as well. So yeah, you name it, I went through all of that as well. Um, but then, I mean, I went on a spiral. I went downhill. Um, so far to the point that there was one night that it became the end and the start of who I am now.
Okay.
And I was going to take my own life. I was the pressure from dealing with everything. Still hadn't dealt with Dan's death. I'm trying to do everything I can for the boys. I was worn out. I couldn't see a way out. There was everything was just, that tunnel was getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and the light was becoming so dim that I felt like it was so far away. I had a picture of the 2 boys that was positioned in the unit, basically, so I could see it anywhere I was sitting. And I sat there, I had the noose, I had everything ready. I was going to do this, and I was like sitting there, and I'm like, okay. And I just kept looking at that picture, and I was just in my head, I'm like, if I'm not here, who is going to guide these 2 boys?
Right.
Because I can't trust her family to do it. So it became that. And then I said to myself, right, if I make it through tonight, that's it. This ends here, and I change everything through the night, and that was it.
Thank God. Yeah.
So,
No. Yeah. I'm glad you didn't do it, my friend. I mean, it's, and you got to look at it from the other thing too. Is also, if you were to do that, she's going to get, like you said, her family couldn't do it, and that's the thing. It's like, I never had kids, so they weren't able to be weaponized against me. But my template for a father was a rotten one. I grew up in a very large family. I'm the youngest of 9 children and all that.
wow. They should have bought a TV.
Yeah, yeah, no shit, right? It's like, it's just like, get a hobby, go outside, touch grass. No, but I mean, obviously, being a father and just being a man in general these days, I don't think it's going to get any easier. It's just going to get harder because they keep passing laws in favor of women, and then they just keep taking advantage of the structure. Apparently, in both countries, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
Well, they're destabilizing the structure.
yeah. I think that's the end game, especially here in America. Whereas that's what I can speak to. If they don't have anybody to fight, they can take it over easier. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately that's where I can see it's heading if we're
Hmm.
not careful. And
Yeah.
it's going to take for men to actually, grow a set now and start realizing and educating themselves as to what is going on
Hmm.
and step up.
Yeah.
But it's got to be done in the right way. And this is the problem, right? Because there's too much of this, oh, we're going to go out and take it over and we're going to do this. Unfortunately, it's not the
Hmm.
right way.
No, it's
It's
not.
not. It just that creates more chaos, and they then paint you out to be the bad people out of it all.
Hmm.
You're the ones that are causing all of this. So, and unfortunately, media has a way of twisting everything for the
Yeah.
narrative that they want.
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
Well, especially with that whole toxic masculinity movement that was a few years ago. It's actually, I don't think it's, I think it's still going,
it is
but there's
still
no such
going.
thing. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's just masculinity, and then there's assholes that happen to be masculine.
Look, so the way I define the masculine that has fallen into the shithole,
Hmm.
right, is someone who's under pressure, who is a masculine man, who has lost control because of all of the pressures and the vices that are around him that
Yeah.
creates that pressure. That is what toxic masculinity is, or someone who hasn't dealt with and handled their shit that they've
Yeah.
been
You're
through.
right. Hmm.
Right? I mean, we've all. You just said before, like didn't have the greatest role model as a father growing up. We've all got shit that we're carrying from our past. It's up to us whether we handle it and whether we deal with it or not.
Yeah, 100%. And also how you deal with it. It's not just going to talking to a therapist. It's
No.
also, talking to other men. It's finding something constructive to do. Like me, like, you mentioned motorcycles earlier.
Yep.
That's one of my stress relievers is going out for a nice long ride on my, I have a Harley.
Yep.
And,
I won't hold
so
that against you.
yeah. Are you a Triumph guy? I see it on your,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I got to try and frop
Yeah.
it.
I've never ridden a Triumph. This is the only bike I've ever ridden is this one besides the one that I learned on. So I just, I'm a bigger guy. And, so it's like, the Road King is a nicer fit for me.
Yeah.
But, I was actually looking at, an Indian for a while.
Okay.
But so anyways, but back to the point was I was saying is that, you have to have, so that's my stress relief. And then I don't really go shooting that much anymore because it's just expensive here. Like one of my guns is $1 a bullet.
Wow.
Florida is a very firearm friendly state. So there's gun ranges everywhere. But, then again, like I don't like dealing with people that much. I like people, don't get me wrong. But sometimes you get people that think they're in charge when they're not. And that people that have fake authority really bother me. So I just don't, you know what I mean? So, anyways, so people that come on my show, I have 3 questions that I ask them.
hmm
The first one is, what are 2 beliefs that make you Joe?
This is one that's become a stronger one of
Mhm.
recent
Yeah.
that I think men can be better. We talk about this, where the scales are out of whack between men and women. But what I've noticed, and I don't know about there in the US, and you could probably
Mhm.
answer this one for me as well. I've noticed here in Australia that the standards of men are setting for themselves are shit.
Yeah. Same here.
So there is no
Mhm.
standards anymore. Like,
Mhm.
set a better standard and be a better man. That's how I see it. And I'm a strong believer that if we have better men in this world, we
Mhm.
don't have all this shit that is going on around the world.
Right.
If you have better men, you create a better world. It
Yeah.
starts with us.
100%. It does. And to answer your question, yeah, men are afraid to date in this country. Like,
Well, we're starting to
like
see that here now as well.
yeah, they have this incel movement or whatever it's called. They don't want to deal with the bullshit, but also they're also going after women that are not, you know, how do I say it? They're going after women that aren't of a certain standard, because the standard for women is the same as men. It's in the fucking toilet. Like they
Oh,
don't like.
really?
Yeah, here in the U.S., it's like nobody takes care of themselves. No one, it's starting to change a little bit, but nobody wants to take care of themselves. No one wants to eat right. No one wants to work out. They just want everything given to them. You know, and the level of discipline in this country is in the toilet, because we in the '90s we gave out participation trophies. You know,
Oh, yeah, we remember them. My boys
yeah,
complained about them.
yeah. It was the dumbest thing ever. It's okay to lose occasionally, because it fortifies you as a human being, whether you're a man or a woman. But here, but so now we had what the people, I guess the right wing people called snowflake movement, where everyone is like special and all that shit. Like, no, I mean, you're special just like everybody else, right?
Yeah.
See these guys and I'm not saying that working out makes you a man, but it's also about and it's not even, it's just being healthy. No one wants to do that, but like I said a minute ago, that's changing. Um, but and then there's another question I usually ask people is, you're about to leave this life, go on to the next, whatever you choose to believe. What do you want to be remembered for?
Legacy that I've left behind.
Hmm. Yeah,
And hopefully that's through both of my boys, but also what impact I can leave here before
yeah,
I go or when I go. Whatever's left here, if that makes an impact, then I'm happy for that.
yeah. That's good. I mean, and what you're doing is great. There needs to be more light onto this, because men are suffering. Everybody's suffering, but you and I being men, it's like we just see it more for ourselves because it's right in front of our face every day in the mirror. But we just need to talk it out, and then set some goals, set some standards for yourself, but then just seek help when you're drowning. Reach out to a friend,
Yeah.
that kind of
Oh,
thing.
yeah. But look, okay. So there's another element to this, which is what I'm concerned for with the younger fellas that are getting around. And that is they're so used to being on their phone, right? That they've lost the ability to be able to communicate face to face with a friend.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, not only that, but that brings up a thought, and especially when it comes to dating in general, or just being, a lot of men are porn addicted, and they don't, because it's so easy, right? It's easier than
Yeah.
dealing with a woman. So I had a guy on that. His name was Joshua Shea. He's a porn recovery coach, and he was telling me stories of, because he talks to men and women about it. One of his clients was telling him that, or it was a female client. She met this guy, went on a date, and they started doing the thing, and it turned into like some wannabe porno shit. And it's not how it works. So I mean, because the problem is that people are using this thing to, to substitute human interaction.
Problem is, no normal person is going
Hmm.
to play out what they're seeing in porn.
Yeah, exactly. It kills a man's drive. When I say drive, I don't mean a sexual drive. I mean, it kills his drive to do and be a provider. Does that make sense?
But yeah, 100%, because he doesn't
Yeah,
need for that anymore.
exactly. Like, we talked about it on that episode. There's a convention in Vegas. It's called the AVN, which is like the porn Oscars. It's the fucking stupidest
Are
thing
you
ever.
serious?
Yeah, no, I'm dead serious. And it's like a 4-day event, and people pay money to go and talk to these people. And I use that term loosely.
Oh, I'm
It's
sorry.
disgusting. Yeah, I know, dude. It's disgusting. So, anyways, they used to have this company. It's called Triple X Church, right? And it was a church, a Christian church, that would go to these events, and it would talk to people, try to get them out of the life. You know what I mean? There one of the people got interviewed, and he said there was a young kid walking around, because he could be 18, 21, ever old to get into this thing, and he was that age, and he was walking around. He goes, "Man, you know what? I'm never going to need a girlfriend." you know, like that's a that's a disgusting way of thinking, I think. You know?
Okay, but that's okay. So let's hit on that one a bit more. Have you heard of Bonnie
Sure.
Blue?
Yes, unfortunately, I have.
Yeah, okay. So she disgusts me,
Most people, she should,
right?
yes. Yeah.
Now, she came out here to Australia on
Mhm.
schoolies,
Mhm.
right? So that's when all the year 12s are away partying for a week because they've now
Mhm.
finished all their final exams and they're now finished with high school.
Yep.
She comes here to the Gold Coast where they all go and gets what she calls a bang bus
That's disgusting. I've heard
and
of this actually, yeah.
drives it around the Gold Coast. And all of the young people were treating her like the biggest celebrity. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, but if we are starting to call someone like that a celebrity and put
Mhm.
her high up here as someone we look up to, our
Mhm.
society is screwed.
Oh, 100%. And that's but then again, I think she's a gross individual for sure. This is the culture now where because it's instead of actually going out and getting a job, shit like OnlyFans and all that stupid crap. It before I met my girlfriend, I went on a couple of dates, right? And every one said, "I hope you're okay with an OnlyFans."
What?
And I go, "No, I'm fucking yeah," because everybody has one,
No.
you know. And I'm like, "Yeah, not everybody, but I mean, like the ones that I had the misfortune of talking to do." And I'm like, "No, I'm not fucking cool with it. This is over.
Did they
Goodbye."
look like an OnlyFans model?
No,
Okay.
they
So
didn't. And
this is the
yeah,
argument that I have in a discussion. Like my thought process is, and apparently the figures back it up a little. uh, There is only a small percentage who are making shit tons of money off OnlyFans.
yeah, and it's usually the famous ones. But that's the thing is it's like me being a YouTuber podcaster, right? You know, I don't I have no aspirations of being like super rich off of this. I do it to have conversations like we're having now, right?
Yeah.
But some people they do it they think they're going to be the next Bonnie Blue, which is a shitty aspiration to fucking have. You know,
They'll have to go and find themselves 2,000 men to have in a day.
so and it's like
I'm glad you did that because I felt ill when I said it, but that's what
it's like
exactly.
I need a shower just after hearing that statement. You know what I mean? And the fact that we encourage this behavior, we you know, some people praise the behavior and they think it's fine. And it's the fakest fucking shit ever, you know. And it doesn't, you know, listen, I it gets
I'm
me pissed.
sorry.
No, it's fine. It just it gets to me to the point to where it's like, you know what? As and I've been married twice. I've been burned twice. I don't hate women because of it. I chose the wrong two women to marry.
Yeah, look, that's exactly how I look at it as well. I was just fortunate. I got 2 boys out of it that are solid.
Right. Exactly. But so I understand my role in it for sure. But what I don't understand is how people they'll find any other means than to have an actual genuine interaction with people. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Because I don't know if it becomes from a fear of rejection or if it comes from a place of just wanting to be left alone. You know, like I don't make friends easy because I set boundaries, right? Like and people don't like that shit. I'm
but
not a doormat. Yeah,
everyone
good.
look, I'm a big believer in setting boundaries, and I can't tell you how many guys that I've coached where I'm like, "Hey, where are you setting your boundaries here? Like, this seems to be what a cycle that you seem to keep going through." And they're like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "Well, surely you've got a boundary around the type of person that you wanna meet. What are your definite, like, no's in a
Hmm.
relationship?" They've got
Right.
they've never said
Yeah.
any. And I'm like, "You've got to." Like, I was single for 13 years
Hmm.
after I split with my boy's mum.
Yeah.
I
Right.
stayed single because I'd set boundaries around the type of person I was happy to have around, but also if they didn't fit what I thought could work around my boys and was a good role model for them as a
Hmm.
female around them, then I didn't want them around and they were never
Yeah.
going to be
100%.
around.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like so me after my first marriage ended, I was single for 5 years. And so I took my time, you know, and then obviously I didn't take enough time because I picked the fucking wrong one again. But and then so
At least we can laugh about it now.
yeah, yeah, you look at it and you go, yeah, that's a fucking idiot, you know. But you know that's the thing about hope, right? You hope it's going to work, and then just sometimes it doesn't. The people change, and I'm not saying that it lessens the pain or it makes it good or okay, but it definitely makes it to where it's like you know you just I don't blame you know anything on my second wife because people change. But it was there's obviously nuance that I'm leaving out for because I don't want to get fucking sued.
No, I don't know. You don't need. Yeah, you don't need to delve into any of that.
They're and the fact that we don't have any good leaders.
Well, that's yeah, no, definitely, 100%. Like I look at who we got leading this country now, and I would never say that he's a leader. And I
Right. Same
look at
thing with ours.
yeah, I look at the
Yeah.
muppets that are around him as well, and there
Hmm.
is no one
Yeah.
there that has any backbone.
Who's the prime minister over there?
Yeah, yeah, Albanese.
Yeah. Albanese. We have the old DJT over here. I voted for the fucker 3 times, right? I was never MAGA. Like I said, I'm right leaning. But because I thought he was a better choice than Harris, and I thought he was a better choice than Biden because that guy can't even form a fucking thought. It goes back to what I just said. There's no good leaders. So yet again, back to the man thing. They're taking men out of the home. They're saying single motherhood is better than having a fully functioning family and all this other shit. So it literally turns into this never ending vicious cycle. It's like being inside of a revolving door. It just never changes. And then when somebody tries to step up and do good, then they get shunned for doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And look, I mean, this is why I believe that we've got to get into the younger fellas' heads a bit
mhm.
more. Not this bullshit stuff that I've seen.
Like your Andrew Tates.
Yeah, look, I mean, so there's him and there's quite a few others, and these young fellas don't understand that, and they're leading on every word that is being said to them, and it's all
Mhm.
bullshit.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
young people are just being monetized, and they don't even
Yeah,
realize that they
100%.
are.
Well, it's like, when you have and I'm not picking on him, I don't but, he's just the one that popped in my head, but Andrew Tate, he has these courses
Yep,
to teach you how to and this guy's a fucking smut peddler.
yep,
He controls webcam girls.
exactly, and that's how he got himself out of the shit in a financial position, and he's just kept doing it.
And why would you listen to someone who's morally bankrupt? You know what I mean? Like if he has no problems making money off the backs of girls, he's no better than a pimp.
Yeah, but he doesn't talk nicely about him either.
No, he doesn't either. And it's like, he's like the Bugatti or whatever. Like, shut the fuck up. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
This goes for everybody. Every guy with a microphone. They have the ability to help people, but it's all about flashing a Rolex or some stupid. That's fake masculinity to me. You know what I mean?
100%. I know so
Yeah.
many people, mate, who are so wealthy, so grounded, and to
Hmm.
look at them, you would never even know.
Never know it.
And
Yeah.
they have
Because
the happiest life.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's what I
Well,
look at. That's what I go, wow, that is someone who knows who they are and has made it in life.
yeah. And it's like I don't. And like I said, I'm not picking on him, but this idea of being flashy and it comes across as plastic and fake.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, they're not happy either. They keep
No, they're
making
fucking
out that
miserable.
they're happy, but they're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Uh-uh. So, and then the last question I ask people is, what makes you happy?
Funny way we lead into that one right now. Uh, what makes me happy? What makes me happy, and now this is me personally, is the connection that I have with my new partner. And probably the biggest thing that makes me happy, though, is seeing the growth in my two boys and seeing the impact that I've had
Hmm.
on their life and who they are. But seeing where they're at now, I mean, they're one's 16 and one's 18.
Right.
And, mate, they are seriously couldn't be prouder.
You know that you've raised them right, and you can sit back with a sense of pride and said, "I did that. I instilled good values in them."
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. For me, they're my greatest win in life.
I'm not going to shit on my siblings too much. I don't get along with any of them. Are actually dead, if I'm being honest. All my
Oh,
like
well,
I'm the
look,
last living. Yeah. So my dad had 4 kids. My mom had 4 kids, and they had me. Right. So it's 8 of us or 9 of us total. But so all of my siblings on my dad's side are dead. I'm his last living child. And on my mom's side, I'm not just not close with them, unfortunately, because my next closest sibling is like 10 years older than me.
yeah, okay.
So yeah, so it's like there's just not a whole lot of connection there. So, but I'm the one that has the good job. I'm the one that my mom calls when she needs something. So that's that tells you something, I guess. But where can people find you if they want to talk to you?
Well, mate, I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I'm on YouTube as well. Got some videos and stuff out there on YouTube as well. We've actually just done a name change, to be
Hmm.
honest.
Okay.
Um, it was Lead Don't Blame, and we've now changed it to uh, Better Dad Brotherhood.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. So I
Okay.
wanted to create more of a community base around everything, and really get dads to connect and understand that, they can be better and they can step up and do better, one for themselves. Like you were talking about, no one's looking after themselves and, life looks like shit.
Hmm.
But then that instills something in their kids as well. And then the flow on effect is the biggest thing, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Mm. Cool. Well, I want to say thanks for coming on, man. It was a great conversation, and I appreciate you.
mate, no, appreciate your time and thanks for having me on.
Bye, everybody.